Good afternoon. My name is Jackie Wild, president of the Manitoba Filipino Business Council and owner of Tito Boy Restaurant in Winnipeg. You are listening to Radyo Kapwa on CKUT 90.3 FM, where all Filipinos are Filipino enough.
Yes, y'all. Bonjour, salute to all the lovely souls out there listening right now. You are tuned into Radio Kapwa on 90.3 FM CKUT, and this is Fenny Cristo filling in for Laura. And I'm joined by France, Vero, and TJ, who is also filling in for Desiree right now. Today, we are welcoming Jackie Wild, a communications and marketing professional based out of Winnipeg. Introductions are in order. So Jackie, tell us about yourself, what you do, and anything else you want to let us know,
Amazing. Well, first and foremost, Fenny, thank you so much for the invitation to join Radio Kapwa and to be here on the show today. It's an incredible honor to just be part of this community and learn more about the incredible work that you do. I'll try to keep it brief because I don't love talking about myself. I love talking about community. My name is Jackie Wild, and I wear a number of hats, but the two that I'm most proud of is serving as the president of the Manitoba Filipino Business Council, which is where we're from here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And through that organization, we serve as a community resource hub for Philippine business people and business owners who are looking for a safe space to be able to connect with like-minded entrepreneurs and professionals, and for them to be able to build their networks and connect with the resources that they need to succeed. And secondly, with my family, we opened up a restaurant last year here in Winnipeg, the very first Philippine restaurant in the south end of the city called Tito Boy's. So it's been an incredible journey where we've had an opportunity to build intergenerational connections between old and new, where we have folks that come in and talk about what food means to them and our culture and community, as well as inviting non-Philippine community members to learn more about our food and our histories. So that's a little bit about me.
Amazing. You know what? I really love all of that Tito Boy stuff because I find food is like one of the most amazing bridges to any culture, right? Mm-hmm. And there's so much history behind food. Maybe you can, I guess, tell us a little bit more about how the whole Tito Boy endeavor came about.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. So my father, he grew up in Southern Leyte, and like many other ancestors and parents and grandparents that we have here as kababayan, a lot of them grew up with very little. My father, he grew up on a farm, and his mother, while taking care of the family, also looked after the farm. So they had a lot of fresh produce to access to, and they did a lot of cooking together. And that's when his love of food really started. And subsequently, he ended up immigrating to Manitoba when he was sponsored by my mother in the late 70s, early 80s. And even though he had this unwavering passion for food, when you come to a new country, make a huge risk and move half a world away, of course. And many of us know this, you have to sacrifice everything and you're in survival mode. You don't end up necessarily being able to pursue your passions because you just need to be able to put food on the table for yourself and your family. So my dad ended up working jobs that were certainly not necessarily in his field of interest, but it paid the bills. So he did that for a number of years. He did end up going to culinary school in the 90s and worked in the industry for a few years. However, I was really young at the time, and I think my dad did an incredible job honoring his mental health and the balance that he needed in his life to be able to be there for a young family. So he decided to leave the industry because it was late hours. It was a lot of work. And he moved on and ended up working in the healthcare field for 16 years afterwards. And so fast forward to where we're at today, we ended up deciding to open up the restaurant as kind of a collaborative project because I was on maternity leave with my second daughter at the time, and my dad was only months away from retiring from the Winnipeg Regional Health Authority as a healthcare aide. And And we thought, if we're not going to do something now, if we're not going to be able to fulfill this lifelong dream of his today, the opportunity may never come back up again. And so I ended up putting the business plan together while my 4-month-old daughter was sitting on my lap. And we ended up getting the lease on our establishment a few months later and opened up Tito Boys at the end of October last year. So it was a wild ride, but the community has come out in droves and has been so supportive because we're in a part of town here in Winnipeg where there is a lower concentration of Philippine people and businesses. However, Manitoba and Winnipeg in particular has one of the highest Philippine populations per capita in the entire country, and we're one of the oldest Philippine establishments in terms of the actual community here in the country as well. And we felt it was really important to bring the Philippine point of view to this part of the city because our kababayan are represented everywhere in this city and in this province. However, we really weren't being able to tell our story and our narrative in this part of our community. So we really do hope that this is just the first of many businesses that open up in this part of the city where people get to experience what our culture is and what it means to be a Philippine person. And like you said, Fanny, food really is culture in so many ways. It tells stories about our upbringings, and we get to connect about our favorite foods growing up, whether we had pandesal and coffee in the morning, or maybe your favorite dish is dinuguan, and you get to kind of explain to people who maybe aren't from the same background as you what all of these things are and how exciting it is to be able to see those dishes on our family's dinner table. So we really treat the space almost like it is an extension of our home. We want to be able to make people feel really safe, and we do try to intentionally decrease barriers for folks who are visiting us and answer any question that they may have about our food, because the more people that know about Philippine food, the better, because that way we can actually build a strong reputation for the incredible delicacies that we serve in our culture.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Fran Stoner here. Little bit in the background today because my throat is acting up, but I absolutely have to jump in and join on this conversation because I'm a big fan of Jackie Wild. Fangirling about having you here today. But I really like this piece. So, first of all, I think I want to give our listeners a little bit of background. There's a huge, huge, huge population of Filipinos who live in Winnipeg. And the reason for this is, again, I urge people to learn more about their histories and the waves of migration. And there was a particular wave of migration that happened in Winnipeg because of the need for garment workers. So, there were a lot of Filipinos who were able to establish themselves quite quickly in terms of PR, in terms of, permanent residency or citizenship, because there was such a need. And I think even like the University of Manitoba is one of the first universities that's starting a little bit to explore what is Filipino Canadian studies, right? Because we have been here for a long time, but we're invisibilized. So I just encourage Filipino Canadians, if you're interested to know a little bit more about our history and our contributions to Canada, the Winnipeg perspective is a really, really great one. But the reason I wanted to jump in too is because you were saying, Jackie, that Tito Boy is one of the first Filipino restaurants in the South End, if I'm not mistaken. And it's kind of reminding me a little bit of the reasoning behind our Kapwa walks. So our mandate at Sant Kapwa is kind of supporting mental health and wellness through movement, art, and conversation. So the movement piece for us is once a month we go for a walk, but we go for a walk as a community in a different neighborhood because exactly I think I'm super proud that there are particular areas of city centers that are understood as Filipino towns, and I think that's great. But I also think that sometimes, and feedback I've heard from newcomers is that they stay there because it feels safer, but then it also creates kind of this sense of isolation of like, wait, maybe I shouldn't go elsewhere. But no. So I guess what I'm trying to bring to the conversation right now is I love this idea of taking up space where we are not usually seen and heard or taking up space. Right. We just recently had a Kapwa walk in a neighborhood called Verdun. And all the Filipino businesses manifested themselves. Like we didn't even like reach out. They were like, "Oh, we saw you were coming to the neighborhood. Like Filipinos don't really come to this neighborhood. Come, we're gonna give you free lemonade pandan. Bring your crew, a pandan lemonade." So and to show the community of like, yeah, Filipino town is great. Let's support, let's invest, but also take up space anywhere else you want to take up space. There's Filipino businesses elsewhere. So yeah, I'd love to hear you just kind of spit some fire on taking up space.
I love everything that you shared, France, and also like the history of immigration here in this community and other communities. I think is so important to share, and I think that those educational pieces are amazing. What's really interesting is my family has always lived in the West. We call it the West End, but it's really the inner city of Winnipeg. And it wasn't until I was an adult and was able to build more generational wealth for our family that we progressively moved further and further south. And south is known as a more affluent area of the city. And there's socioeconomic factors that impact why that is, and why the newcomer population is so highly concentrated in the inner city, in the northern parts of Winnipeg, because housing is just more affordable. There are more social support systems that are accessible, oftentimes within walking distance, because when I grew up, we didn't have a car. Like we could only walk to whatever was nearby within, like a 5-block radius. So living in the suburbs in the south end of the city can sometimes be very inaccessible, especially for newcomer communities, which we understand. But on the flip side, I mean, there's just such smart and successful professionals that are coming from the Philippines and are establishing, incredible livelihoods for themselves in, not only the south end, but many other areas of Winnipeg that aren't traditionally seen as Philippine communities, which I think is really, really amazing. And like you said, France, like we're here to take up space. And we know that there is a huge desire from the Philippine people that live within this neighborhood to have their identities represented and for their stories to be told. And oftentimes in these suburb neighborhoods, people don't really leave because they have their malls, they have, all of the food establishments they need, their shopping centers. They often don't go, past downtown into the north end of the city or otherwise. And so they don't necessarily have the same point of view of someone who is living in a different area of the city. So being able to bring our stories to them is just, again, helping decrease those barriers for us to have those intercultural conversations too. And so it's been really amazing because our restaurant probably has about half of our clientele who are non-Philippine people. And some of them have literally, they're just walking by the strip mall. We're in kind of a service shopping center. They'll walk by and they'll be like, "Oh, cool. What's this Tito Boy's place? What does that mean?" And they'll walk in and, we'll get them seated and get them comfortable. And then they'll see kind of the bakery corner and they'll see purple buns. They'll be like, what's that? Like, what flavor are those buns? And then, we talk a little bit about ube being kind of like the Philippine version of vanilla. Like it's so commonplace in terms of very, very familiar and comforting ingredient that we use in our food. And then we get to talk a little bit more about more of the immersive experiences that we have at the restaurant, like kababayan, being able to have a communal dinner and eat like how our ancestors ate in pre-colonial times back home. And a lot of them just are mind blown by how intersectional our histories are with the food that we eat. And I think it's something that people know and recognize, but oftentimes isn't shared when you come to a restaurant. It's not intentionally spoken to. It's almost kind of just innately assumed that you may or may not know what it means to eat in certain ways. But we really try as a business and as a community to be able to share those important pieces, because this may be the only exposure that these people have to Philippine culture. And we want to make sure that we're doing a good job representing who we are as a culture and community to them.
Exactly. You know what? I really, I guess I've never been to Winnipeg myself, right? All I know is like when I eventually go there, I definitely have to make a stop at the restaurant.
Please do.
One thing we always like to ask our guests 2 questions. And One of them I'm very curious about since, like as you said, Winnipeg has like the largest population of Filipinos per capita in Canada.
Hmm.
It makes me feel like, like there's such a strong community there. But, what we'd like to ask is, what does the word Kapwa mean to you?
Hmm. That's such a great question, Benny. And I come from a bit of a different point of view because I grew up very disconnected from our culture and language, and not intentionally in some ways, because as with many other second gen Philippine people, like my parents came here in survival mode, right? Like they were just trying to get by. And I went to a French immersion school growing up, and the administration there actually had told my parents not to speak Tagalog, or my parents speak Bisaya as well, not to speak their native dialects because it would confuse me growing up. And so it wasn't until my adulthood and connecting with this incredible community of Philippine business people, Philippine community activists, and so many other incredible groups here. We have hundreds of different community organizations across the city and province that are celebrating our cultural identities in different ways, that I actually started learning the language and understanding, just even basic Tagalog. I could not carry a conversation. I still can't, but at least, I can understand some of the dialect now. But learning about terms like kapwa and being able to connect with human beings at a completely different level and supporting one another versus competing with one another versus putting each other down. The crab mentality is something we talk about a lot, and I'm sure that that's something that is commonplace not only in our community here, but many other Philippine groups in every other community outside of the Philippines and within. But we try so hard to move past the intergenerational trauma that those ways of thinking come with. And it's hard sometimes, right? Like it's hard to try to change minds. And, sometimes like my parents are the same way. They can be incredibly stubborn. And it's so ingrained in our culture to, even though we have a collectivist culture, there's this kind of strange juxtaposition of like high degree of competition at the same time and not being able to lift each other up in meaningful ways. And I'm like, why do we need to fight against one another? Because there is so much space for us to all succeed and for all of us to be able to be there for one another and to lift each other up. So I think that in some ways, coming from somebody who didn't grow up with understanding what kapwa meant, that's what it means to me today. And I think that that definition is just going to continue evolving as well as I continue to learn more about our language and our histories and our culture. But this next generation of young Philippine people is just boggling my mind. They are so incredibly smart. So they approach these issues with so much humility and understanding. And I'm just so excited for how they are going to carry on, the meaning of kapwa into the spaces that they occupy. Because the future is just looking so bright. And I mean, it's amazing organizations like yours that are doing the important work in being able to continue building that harmony in our community. I think that's so important. And I feel like there's a huge responsibility again to ensure that that intergenerational trauma isn't carried on into the next generation. Like we need to break those cycles and to be able to build healthy and happy relationships amongst our kababayan. So that's what it means to me.
Wow, I think everybody's just speechless right now. There's like so many things you said that just like, like I wanted to just jump in and like be like, yes, I agree, and like, or just add to it.
We've been trying to jump in, but then also this is an important conversation.
Yes.
We could
I
have a whole episode just about that.
Exactly, but I will redirect. I mean, Joy has been wanting to like mute, unmute, and so we always ask the same questions to all of our guests, and I will cede my mic to Joy for this question.
like it's nice to see somebody so involved in like the community too. And one of the closing questions that we like to ask everybody here on the show is, in what ways have you been told that you weren't Filipino enough?
Thanks, Joy. That's such a loaded question to unpack. Because I honestly feel like I have told myself that I am not Filipino enough more than society has told me. And it's almost like, that projection of not feeling Filipino enough amongst my peers. Like I had said, I had grown up in a community where it was discouraged to speak our native dialects. And subsequently, that was kind of the first domino that fell in starting this internalized shame of everything that was within me and amongst my family that represented Philippine culture. It was the food that we ate, bringing really delicious Filipino food, which we celebrate today, definitely was very different when you bring it to school and you have a stew and your rice, and sometimes maybe you have bagoong, and it has, it's nostalgic now thinking about those smells, but as a young child who's around people who don't necessarily understand what that food is and what it means, you don't necessarily get to celebrate it. You try to hide it. You internalize that shame. And same thing with our garments. I always think about pasalubong and people bringing balikbayan boxes home, and they bring all of the Philippine goodies, all the treats, all of the clothes, all the cotton panties that just remind you of home. But that's not something that was celebrated at that point in my life either. And so I think that it was just this kind of climactic point growing up where I had realized that I was almost wearing this shield of one of my really good friends, Liz Choi, who is also a very outspoken advocate about being an immigrant and using like this coat of white armor to be able to protect yourself and being able to blend into these predominantly white communities and feeling like you just need to fade into the background and just almost be like one of them to be able to navigate society in a safe way. That was my interpretation of being safe and being able to have upward mobility. And knowing what I know now and being able to connect with organizations like yours and incredible community like leaders like all of you has been just so eye-opening, because those conversations just weren't commonplace back when we were growing up. And it's really important that young people know that these resources exist early on, because I'm sure there are many people like me who are growing up feeling very isolated and alone and feel like they aren't Filipino enough and that they can't be proud of all of the things that they bring to the table and that their communities represent. So that's what I've done to myself. So I take full responsibility for that. I know society, obviously, there's a lot of systemic issues that contribute to that as well. But again, I've just been so fortunate to have had just amazing mentors, amazing community organizations who have been able to help me redefine what it means to be a Philippine person. And the journey just continues on.
There you have it, people. I do not have any questions follow up, but I have lots of comments to say. Veronica has a lot of things to say, but I just wanted to point out where you're like, oh, you yourself kind of like said it to yourself that you're not Filipino enough. And I just want to quote our dear Kapwa, Kat Daka, and be like, who said that? Right? Who's saying that? Who's that inner voice? Who implanted that? Like, you're not Filipino enough. It's the colonizers. Just to say like there. 2 points that I wanted to kind of just comment on is Tito Boy's success and how your father was working in the healthcare industry, and then after that, like, okay, a restaurant. And I myself cook food, and I tell my partner to leave me alone, because for me, cooking food is a way to take care of myself, but it's also a way to get in touch and connect back again to our homeland. And cooking and using ingredients for me is healing in itself. So Filipinos creating and opening Filipino restaurants for me is a way to like keep in touch and be connected to our Filipino community. And the last thing that I wanted to say is we talk about a lot of trauma. And I started to realize that yes, it's important for us to talk about our intergenerational trauma, but it's also actually we now that we talked about it, let's move on and actually start celebrating who we are. And a celebration of creating restaurants and celebration of the Filipino in different diaspora in different parts of Canada itself is a show of taking up space in different ways to say that like we are here. We don't need to explain who we are, and you need to start listening to who we are as well. And for those who's listening to us, you just have experienced what I just told you about. We have taken up space broadcasting every Wednesdays from 2 to 3 p.m. on CKUT 90.3 FM. This is Radyo Kapwa. Mabuhay to everyone.
Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Good afternoon everyone. My name is John Marvin Reyes. I am a youth leader and community organizer here bringing you the news back home in the Philippines. The article is from Rappler with the title, Nearly 4 in 10 examinees passed 2023 bar examinations. A total of 3,812 out of 10,387 examinees passed in this year's bar examinations. The Office of the Bar Chair through the Supreme Court of the Philippines announced on Tuesday, December 5. The passing rate for this year's bar examination is 36.77%, and compared to last year, the result of this year was much lower. The passing rate for last year's bar examinations was 43.47%, with Matthew Dayday of the University of the Philippines College of Law garnering the highest score. The list of successful examinees was also released on the Supreme Court website and the High Court social media accounts on X, Threads, Facebook, and Instagram. The oath-taking and rolly signing of successful examinees will be immediately followed on December 22 at the SMX Convention Center, Manila, Seashell Lane in Pasay City. During the 3-day exams held on December 17, 20, and 24, a total of 10,816 candidates were expected to take the test. However, only 10,300 finished all. The tests were conducted in 14 testing centers across the country. The 2023 bar examination also marked the third year since 2020 and 2021 that the tests were digitalized instead of handwritten. The 2023 batch of lawyers will be second to use the new lawyer's oath authored by Senior Associate Marvic Leonen, which put emphasis on the word justice. The new batch of lawyers entered the legal profession at a time of continuous attacks and intimidation against members of the profession. In September this year, Abra lawyer Maria Sanyata Liwa Gonzalez Alzate was gunned down with the suspect yet to be arrested as of writing. She was the 118th lawyer killed since 1972. The article was written by Jairo Boliedo and published on December 5, 2023. Thank you so much for listening. Maraming salamat sa pakikinig. Once again, this is John Marvin Reyes delivering you Philippine news from abroad.
Thank you, Jackie Wild, for coming on the show and sharing your story. And thank you always to John Marvin Reyes for the news from the Philippines. You're listening to Radyo Kapwa on CKUT 90.3 FM. As always, this is Laura, and today I'm going to play you interviews Andy Tran and I had on November 23rd, 2023 with healthcare workers on strike. If you live in Montreal, then you've probably seen healthcare workers in the cold with their green signs picketing. They were on strike at the end of November and are on strike again now from December 11th to 18th because they have not yet received the settlement that they deserve under the Legault government. teachers are facing similar issues and striking as well. So go show your support by honking your horn as hard as you can when you pass them, striking with them if you can, and learning why hospitals and schools are currently refusing to provide all the care they have for so long. They are underpaid and tired. So without further ado, here are the voices of the healthcare workers on strike from the General Hospital here in Montreal.
Who do I look at?
Okay, we'll talk. Could you please state your name?
Ann Derry.
Okay, nice to meet you, Ann. My name's Andy. We're here with the community radio show. Could you please tell us why you're here today, why everyone else is here?
Well, obviously we're here because we weren't able to get a settlement with le gouvernement Legault. Okay, we are still here because working conditions are extremely important, and right now if we want to save the public healthcare system, we need to invest in better working condition. Also, a better salary. 10.3 over 5 years was the biggest insult the government could give us at this point. So for sure that's why we're here. We also want a patient to healthcare professional ratio. So we could better care for our patient, give them safe care, take the time to listen to them and, not just physically care for them, but psychologically care for them, which is very difficult right now to do. So we're outside here, we're united, we're determined to stay until we finally get an offer that will permit us once and for all to have better working conditions and to save our public healthcare system.
What would you say the ratio is right now?
The ratio varies from one unit to another, depending of I would say la discipline, depending of if it's orthopedics, if it's surgery, if it's cardiology. But the ratios right now, because we are so short-staffed, we cannot recruit, we cannot retain. We have some retirees that are coming back, but they would have stayed. They wouldn't have retired if the conditions would have been better. So right now it's very hard to say what are the ratios. We would like 1 to 4, but we do not have 1 to 4. We have 1 to 7 some days. It could be 1 to 8 when there's some sick calls and they're not replaced, which puts the care of the patient sometimes in a precarious situation. So obviously if we could get 1 to 4, it would really help because we are an acute care center here. We are a tertiaire, quaternaire, and a trauma center. So the patients we get here are obviously the sickest in Quebec because they're transferred from other establishments here. So the acuity of every single patient that are hospitalized here is very heavy.
So I know that it's not just nurses who are here, there's also PAPs, but also it's not just the hospitals, it's part of this common front. Could you help us understand the common front a bit?
Okay, so we are not in the common front, okay, so FIC, which is nurses, LPN, respiratory therapists, and clinical perfusionists. We are category 1 and we are with FIC. The common front is the CSN employees and the APTS. So for the common front, you have the PABs, you have everyone that is housekeeping. It could be also admit techs. We have for APTS in the labs, they have also all the technologists also, but they are with the common front. We are on our own FIC.
Thank you for that. Are there ways for people who are recipients of healthcare, which is every person in society, people on the street to show support right now?
Well, people are showing support since this morning by, using their honks, stopping by and say, please continue. We know why you're doing this. Of course, it's really to understand why we're doing it. And it's also for them. If we get better working condition, we give better care to the patient. So by coming to salute us and being there and not being influenced by what they hear in other medias, which the government sometimes has a way to distort what he's really offering us. So it's to come by and join us on the picket line is the biggest support they could show us.
Your name?
Hi, my name is Mireille Boulos. I'm an occupational therapist here at the Transitional Day Program in Psychiatry.
Thank you. Are you part of the strikes that are going on right now?
Yes, I am part of the APTS, but for me it's everybody together. APTS, Nurses Union, everybody together. We're all in the same boat today.
And what boat is that? Why is there a strike?
Strike because we care about the patients, we care about the hospital we work at, we want better care. We struggle very hard to provide services, quality service, real quality services. So what we want is more funding, more staff, because we end up doing the job of 2 people for 1 salary. That's how it's been lately, and it's tough. It's a struggle. That's what we're all here for today, the past few days, striking together. You feel the unity of everybody on the streets, all making noise for the same position.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Something we've asked others is, how often do you miss your break?
I never go on break here. It's a day program, so it's like an inpatient unit. I never go on break. I work through lunches sometimes because it's mental health here. The patients are not very stable, so we leave our office at any time to deal with a crisis. We really don't have our breaks.
For people who don't know what occupational therapy is, Can you explain that?
What occupational therapy is, it's one of the professions that help people get back to their usual level of functioning, or even the optimal level of functioning once they've had some kind of injury, or whether it's physical or whether it's mental health. It's the same thing. People lose functioning. They need services to help get them back to be valuable members of society, to feel that they're contributing something. So it's a struggle. It's a struggle just to get money to provide a quality of services for the patient. Quality meaning not just professional services, but just to make the environment better during holiday times, to provide the little extras that make their day better. A lot of people, especially in mental health, they're alone on holidays, so it would be useful to have money to have a community lunch with them together as a group here, and that's not provided anymore. So for somebody who's alone, it's very sad. What we care about is not just their mental state, it's the whole thing. It's how they're feeling in the community, how that they're not alone.
And how would you say this has affected your personal day-to-day life, your mental health, your physical health?
When I go home, I'm very tired. What we do here in this area in particular, we all work very hard to provide the best quality of services that we can. We care about the patients and, what services they have after they leave the hospital for a day. Here in this particular program, it's a day program from 10 to 2. So after the patients leave to go home, a lot of them are alone. A lot of them don't have services. We do what we can to find them services. We're doing double jobs. We're doing not only our job, but parts of other jobs as well. But we don't want to send out the patients. They're out in the community, back to their place on their own when they're in crisis.
Thanks. What's your message right now to the government of Quebec and to the people here in Quebec?
To invest money into quality care, quality of services where it counts. Just the basis, the clinicians, the staff, the housekeeping, nurses, therapists, just the people that take care of the patients day to day. Really basic.
And at the end of the day, we all become patients at some point in time.
Yes.
Okay. Could you please state your name?
My name is Jennifer.
Okay. Thanks, Jennifer, for taking this interview. What do you do here?
I'm a nurse clinician in the oral and maxillofacial surgery clinic, but I did do 5 years of bedside nursing on a general surgery unit.
Okay. And why are you out here today?
Well, I'm out here for obviously my working conditions and as well as the working conditions of future nurses who are coming into the profession. We want to have safer working environments, better patient ratios in order to help care for patients. We can't give them proper care if the healthcare workers who are taking care of these patients are not taken care of.
When you say working conditions, can you give us some examples of what you're experiencing here?
Well, it's been a while since I've been at the bedside, but obviously there's not enough staff to take care of patients, so patient to nurse ratios are much higher. Back when I was nursing, it was like 1 nurse to 5 patients on a general surgery unit, and now I think it's even higher now sometimes.
So let's say you're doing the job of 2 nurses.
Yeah, sometimes you're doing the job of like 2 nurses, or sometimes you're probably not even able to give the appropriate care to your patients within the span of your shift. So it sucks, you know, you have to cut corners in places that maybe you shouldn't be cutting corners. You know, it's just nurses are tired, they're working overtime. It makes it more at risk for a nurse to make a mistake during their care as well. So it's, you know, it just sucks for patients and for nurses to be in this position.
How often have you found yourself taking a break later than you should?
Often.
Yeah.
Almost. When I used to work at the bedside, it was sometimes you would work a 12-hour shift and you didn't even have time to even go to the bathroom. Like the number of times my husband had to pick me up from work after a 12-hour shift, and I would be like crying because like I didn't eat, I didn't go to the bathroom, can't even like drink water sometimes because you're just that busy.
So right now your union is in negotiations with the government of Quebec about these wage increases and conditions. What would you say to the government of Quebec and to the people here in Quebec about what you're experiencing, and what do you want them to know?
I mean, they used to call us the guardian angels during the time of COVID, but I mean, like, that's obviously not reflected in the way that they treat us as actual healthcare workers. I mean, if you really think so highly of us, then why do you treat us so poorly? Yeah. And we're here trying to take care of you as best as we can, but you can't even take care of us as individuals here. So I was like, there's definitely a huge lack of respect for our profession. And I was like, you want to hire nurses, but you're not making it appealing to retain them or for other future nurses to even come into the profession at all.
I know a lot of people see us on the picket line and think it's for us. It's not. The healthcare, the primary person in all of this is the patient. We really want to be able to continue to give excellent care. Happy nurses, happy healthcare workers. If we are fine, we are content and have good working conditions, you have excellent patient care. Not that we don't give excellent patient care, but it's on our backs.
Yeah.
Right now, it is on our backs. We're not asking for anything extra. If the government can give themselves 30%, if you can talk about giving a hockey team something, why would you consider giving us, healthcare professionals, 10.3? You need to look at our working conditions. You need to have better ratios so that we can continue to give great care.
Yeah. And when we say working conditions, you would say that you're working for, let's say, a 2 nurses job rather than doing just a job of 1 nurse to take care of many patients, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're on a medical floor, you shouldn't be having 10 and 12 patients. You know, you should at least be having patients that you can attend to. You have questions. You're at your most vulnerable when you're in a hospital. We shouldn't have to be worried that, oh my God, I have 9 other patients to take care. We should be able to give the patient the care that they really take the time. Yeah. You know, just to answer something simple questions. Not every patient is going to understand everything right away. So you need to give them that time. But you cannot have 10 and 12 patients and give them all the time that they require in a day. A day is 8 hours, 12 hours, you know what I mean? So.
I'm wondering, you said that you're retired. What is the role of retired nurses in this struggle?
Back here on the picket line to help our colleagues. Not only that, we are going to be the patients. My families, my friends are already the patients. So we want to have, you know, we want our colleagues to be able to feel comfortable. So right now, we are back. I got up at 4 o'clock this morning to be here to be supporting them. You know what I mean? I'm retired. I should be on some beach somewhere, you know, but no. And a lot of us are retired. On this picket line today, there's quite a lot of retired people. So.
Before you were retired, how often would you say that you missed your break at the time you were supposed to take your break?
I can't remember. There were so many times when I got home and I said, wait a second, did I take a break today? There were times when my break was sitting with a patient because they didn't understand something. And I said, I need them to take their antibiotics or something. They don't want to eat, so I would sit there. This is time from my break to ensure that they do this. So, oh my God, I can't even remember what it was like some days to get a break. And yeah, sometimes we forgot to claim it. We should claim it, you know? So,
But you care about your patients.
of course we care about our patients.
Yeah, that's why you stay.
Yeah, I told you. When I sat there with the lady the day somebody passed and said, aren't you going on your break? I said, I will take a break once I'm finished with this. You know, it's your patient is your priority. So,
What would you say to people who are confused right now and think that the strike negatively affects the quality of care?
you know, I live with that every day because I know people are saying, well, surgeries are on hold, this is on hold. No, this is for you. Trust me.
It's for everybody.
It's for everybody.
We're all patients.
We're all patients, and as much as I hate to say it, if something is not done on this round, I don't know. We went through the pandemic. Pre-pandemic, we were talking about working conditions. The pandemic happened, and now we're begging you. We're begging the government to do something. The healthcare is in a crisis. Not everybody can afford to go to a private clinic. The majority of us still need to go to the hospital, and even if you go to a private clinic and have surgeries, a lot of them still end up here. You know. So.
My question is, you said that you've been here for just such a short time.
Yeah.
What have you already seen that makes you believe in this and makes you want to be out here with everyone else?
Oh, well, it's definitely that the nurses, you know, they do everything in their power to help and to service all the clientele as best as they can. But there's an overload of work, of patient ratios to the nurses. You know, the amount of patients that the nurses need to try to take care of. They barely have 2 minutes to visit somebody, to go from room to room, to be able to complete their whole job and their shift. It's just, sorry.
It's a lot. Yeah.
It's definitely a lot. It definitely takes a huge toll on everybody. The work-life balance. I mean, it's impossible not to take this home with you every day when you go home. It's just tough not having the support of your government behind you at the same time, right?
Does it scare you a little bit as a new nurse, seeing everything?
To be completely honest with you, coming in, being a brand new nurse, I mean, my love for wanting to help people will always remain there. So no matter what, I'm going to tough through it, I'm going to be there. But the questions that flow through your head, can I financially survive doing this as my career for the rest of my life, is something that comes into play every day.
And mentally as well, right?
Absolutely.
To come into work every day and to take the job of 2-3 nurses who should be here but aren't here.
Absolutely. And then, you know, we're dealing with people's lives. We're dealing with, you know, people's well-being.
Yeah.
The more, in one sense, we fatigue ourselves by taking on additional workload on top of the workload we already have, to be honest, the less effective our care will be for each additional patient that we go to see. And if you look at it this way, I mean, for the world to function, for the city to function, this is like one of your number one places and things that you need. In order for you guys to do your job every day, you need to stay healthy. And if ever you fall ill, where do you go? You come here to see us so we can try to help you out to get you back on your feet as quickly as possible so you can return back to your normal everyday life, so you can continue to make your living and your earnings, right? We're just looking for a little bit of support so we can do the same, so we can survive and we can live too. That's it.
Thank you, Derek.
No worries, no worries, definitely.
Cool. Thank you for agreeing to take this interview. Could you please state your name?
Sandra Cito.
Okay, Sandra, nice to meet you. Can you tell us what's going on here today?
I'm a nurse, retired, and we are right now striking because the government is being inflexible. We're trying to have better working conditions, better salaries, because in the end, this is the only way we can retain and attract healthcare professionals to come back to work here instead of going to the private.
Okay, thank you. I heard that it's been quite a while since there was an increase in the salaries for nurses. Could you tell us more about that?
We accepted a small salary increase during the COVID time. The government had told us that they had no money, and after we signed the contract, they started throwing all these premiums at us. 2,000 if you work 4 consecutive evenings, 4 consecutive weeks of evenings. The same thing if you work consecutive nights. They gave contracts if you stayed with work full time, 15,000. All of these were premiums. That's not part of our retirement. It's not part of anything, and it's premiums that can be removed at any moment.
This is more of an opinion question, maybe, but why do you think this is happening?
There is no respect for the youth, for the education, and they have no respect for the older people, for our health care. So it's only in between the people who are productive and working who are the only ones that they're looking at, and including themselves. But for everybody else, because healthcare in the end is really for anybody, and all, especially our elderly. The elderly need the healthcare. But they're also not paying attention to our education for the young people.
Okay, thank you. And do you have any last things that you would like to say to people who are listening?
I hope the people are going to think twice before they vote for CAC again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Island woman rise, walang makakatigil. Brown woman rise, alamin ang iyong ugat. They got nothing on us, nothing on us, nothing on us, nothing on us. Island woman rise, walang makakatigil. Brown woman rise, alamin ang iyong ugat. They got nothing on us, nothing on us, nothing on us. Isang bagsak. Yo, fuck a story arc if it don't involve no matriarch. Some mothers work from the ground up, they craft an air like ATR with the butterfly sleeves. Naka-Philippine gana pag nagsalita mga banat ay bala. Wag magtaka kung ako ay makatabulok na sistema. Kurakot sa pera bagsak, but we put in our heart into darkness. They putting these pigs in the office. Or you thinking you're schooling but you hella lost cause you best see the boss while atop this. But look at my ate, she moving so cold. Can't hold a candle to her when she glow. Flick at the wrist but that ilaw she hold. Panago sa ilaw she dripping in gold.
We pulling up in a jeepney. All of my soldiers greet me. Hand me bandanas and pull back my hammer. It's warfare when you see me. Skin you alive for my country. I live and die for my country. I kill a pig in a white hooded suit on the low for my country. They got evil plans in the devil's hands, but I don't pray cause I organize. They got new ways to impose strength, but I teach mine how to mobilize. We don't fight for the money, for the greedy, for the white man. All we want is our freedom and the right to live on our motherland.
Island woman rise, walang makakatigil. Brown woman rise, alamin ang iyong ugat. They got nothing on us, nothing on us, nothing on us, nothing on us. Island woman rise, walang makakatigil. Brown woman rise, alamin ang iyong ugat. They got nothing on us, nothing on us, nothing on us. Isang bagsak. Goddess of guerrilla warfare in every lifetime. We don't take no shit except an oppressor's lifeline. If you step out of your line, I will protect what's mine. Kahit merong rosaryo, sino magliligtas sa'yo? Puro dugo, pugot ulo, mulat sa dagat hanggang mundo. Proclaim it was ours, the high and the low. These women are gods, you already know. Roots deeper than water that run in a village. A river runs red, you'll be dead in a minute. Like Nevis Fernandez, have you beheaded? Fuck with my tribe, quickly regret it. Abani ko sa kamay, at isang mikropono sabay. At ang tapang ko, gaya ng inay. At halimaw nang sumasabay. Mga bara nyo lahat sablay. Mga rappers na puro bangkay. Tinamaan ko lahat patay. Kaya walang mag-iingay. I got that Filipino phenotype. Kayo mag-i-mestizo white. But give me that moreno like that Rufio Aquino type. My lolas they be speaking like those Bali songs and bolo knife. I read the ether, need no hype. Two tongues are sharper with the mic. I need no in my history life. From a loud readers weaving tight. They thieve until one piece of might. Just turn to see no light. Hacienda like Aquino right. Rodrigo vigilante type. They kill my titles left and right. When smoking mirrors fill the night.
So let it be known, if you don't already, Pinays have always been part and parcel, if not imperative and critical to the struggle. Filipinos are no strangers to wielding our own power. Of all the privileges that exist in this world, none of which you may be a benefactor of, there is at least one you bear, and that is the privilege of having been born a Filipina. Your DNA contains building blocks made from the mud of over 500 years of resistance and survival, and when you are ready, sis, be right here.
Island woman rise, walang makakatigil. Brown, brown woman rise, alamin ang iyong ugat. They got nothing on us, nothing on us, nothing on us, nothing on us. Island woman rise, walang makakatigil. Brown, brown woman rise, alamin ang iyong ugat. They got nothing on us, nothing on us, nothing on us. Isang bagsak.
Hello, hello. Thank you, Jackie Wild, for coming onto the show and sharing your story. And thank you so much to all of you for tuning in to Radyo Kapwa here on CKUT 90.3 FM. We hope you enjoyed the interview and the music. And as always, if there are any songs you're looking to add to your arsenal, you may find all the episode playlists on ckut.ca/playlists/ry. And finally, I would also love to thank Anne, Mireille, Jennifer, Sharon, Derek, and Sandra for sharing their experiences as healthcare workers in Montreal. I'm hopeful and confident that it's given our listeners something to think about as recipients of healthcare. Now, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Welcome to the last leg of every episode, this week's community announcements. On Thursday, December 14th at 6 p.m., the monthly Filipinx A.O. Artist Tambayan with Ka Collective called Ka-Artehan will be held at the Shift Space at Concordia University Library Building. That is 1400 Boulevard de Maisonneuve West at LB 145. Whether you call yourself an artist or are flirting with the title, come hang out with other Filipinx AO creatives. Shoot the shit, talk process, or have some merienda while you meet other people. For more information, please visit their Instagram pages at Fried Chicken Vixen and at Centre Kapwa to sign up. Kita kits! Next up, on Saturday, December 16th from 1 to 4 p.m., Park Herbert Outerbridge with Head and Hands in NDG. Please join Nikus's family and friends for a community gathering to celebrate his life, honor his memory, and persist in our demand for justice. Nearly a year ago, Nikus DeAndre Spring was killed by prison guards while being unlawfully detained at Montreal's Bordeaux jail. He was only 21. In the heartfelt words of his sister, Sarafina, he was sweet, generous, kind, handsome, and loving above all. He was always seen with a smile on his face. Nikus loved his family dearly. He always visited when he could, greeting with big hugs, and was always there when you needed him. May he rest in eternal peace. Let's come together in Nikus's memory as we continue to demand justice for Nikus. There will be music, catered food, drinks, and childcare services provided at the event. For more information, please visit Head and Hands' Instagram page, head_and_hands. Also, on December 16th, Centre Kapwa is hosting its annual parole-making workshop that will be held at Shift Concordia in the afternoon. For more details, check your email if you are a member of Centre Kapwa for the full details. This event is for members only. To be a member, please visit centrekapwa.org to sign up as a member or visit our Instagram page at Centre Kapwa. On the same day, December 16th, as well as December 17th, get ready for an extra special holiday market filled with ceramics, vintage, jewelry, accessories, plants, candles, arts, stickers, clothing, woodwork, food products, home decor, and much more. With 80 vendors at Saint Jean Birchman's Church, 5945 Rue Cartier, as well as 5940 Rue Chabot. For more information, please visit one of the vendors' Instagram page at Charlie_art. That is spelled as CHARLY_art. Up next, in community callouts, McGill University PhD student candidate John Wayne de la Cruz is looking for participants in his research study exploring how multilingual Filipino immigrants in Montreal use their languages to construct their linguistic identities in various settings. You will receive a $120 e-gift card for your participations. For more information, please send him an email at john.delacruz@mail.mcgill.ca. That is spelled as JOHN.DELACRUZ@mail.mcgill.ca, or his Instagram page at Lady Gaga's Godson. You also might remember John from our 12th episode of Radyo Kapwa, which aired on October 12, 2022. So if you'd like to know more about them, find that episode. And last but not least, in community callouts, are you a visual artist or photographer? If so, Dear Asian Youth Literature would love to showcase your work. Submit through the form in Dear Asian Youth's bio on Instagram, spelled as DearAsianYouth. Submissions are reviewed on a rolling basis, but applicants are encouraged to submit as early as possible to have a higher chance at being featured. For more information, visit their Instagram page at Dear Asian Youth. That was all from me. I hope you have a beautiful, wonderful rest of your afternoon on this Wednesday. It is cold outside, so bundle up and see you at one of these events. This has been Laura from Radyo Kapwa, Centre Kapwa, and Hiraya Productions. Mabuhay sa lahat!
Liberation for one is liberation for us all. Tuloy ang laban.